We have had a number of questions over the internet from the live streaming audience. And what we'd like to tell you is we're going to answer those individually. Some of them look like they're very unique to individuals, so we'll handle them. And we'd like to now present our new presenter, our new individual, talking about starting and maintaining successful support groups. Andrea.
Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see your smiling faces. I know it's early, but I'm glad that you guys were able to come out and join us. My name is Andrea Julian, and I am the Dayton Zebra Support Group leader, and I'm married to my wonderful husband, Philip. We have two beautiful, bendy teenage sons. We were lucky enough to pass it on 100%, not 50-50. So, yay, my kids. I am a youth mentor and a group leader. I've been in youth ministry for over 20 years, and I'm currently serving at the Dayton Vineyard Youth Ministries. I also help Kathy Royer with the Dayton Zebra Teens, and you'll hear from Kathy later on this afternoon. I serve on the board of directors under John with EDS Awareness, and I also serve on the board of directors for Recovery Plus, which is a local recovery group in my hometown of Fairborn, Ohio. I am an ACE certified personal trainer and functional training specialist. There is a purpose behind this. I've been many things throughout my life and had many certificates and different things, but I became a personal trainer because of the lack of care that myself and my family were receiving with our physical therapy treatments and occupational therapies and things like that. So I took it upon myself to take care of us and became a personal trainer, and I now serve in a studio in Kettering, Ohio, and we see EDS clients daily. So it's been an honor to be a personal trainer for my bendy friends. So when I was asked to do this, we all know what a support group is, but I did look up the definition of support group just to kind of get an idea of, what is it exactly? What does Google say? So I Googled support groups, and it was my favorite definition, Google. It says that a support group is a group of people with common experiences or concerns who provide each other with encouragement, comfort, and advice. Those last three things are the most important things to me when I'm running a support group. Those things: encouragement, comfort, and advice. Encouragement is the action of giving someone support, confidence, and hope. And I am a big encourager. That's my thing. I love to encourage people to continue their strengths and move forward. We also want to offer comfort to the people in our support groups. This is a state of physical ease, freedom from pain or constraint. Now, we can't necessarily get rid of someone's pain, but if we can lessen their anxiety and make them feel more comfortable, that will in turn reduce some pain, at least during your meeting. Advice is kind of tricky, but advice is offering suggestions about the best course of action to someone. The reason advice is tricky is because you are not giving medical advice to someone. You can't give somebody medical advice. You can't say, well, this is what's wrong, this is what you need, and this is who you need to talk to. You don't want to do that. What you can do is kind of share your experiences, or if you're in an in-person group, ask the group to share some of their experiences and give advice that way. Why facilitate an EDS support group? So many reasons. Facilitating a support group of any kind, not just EDS, but facilitating a support group of any kind helps others feel understood and less alone. Just like Dr. Bluestein said, when you're not alone, it's like this weight gets lifted off of your shoulders, and there are finally people that understand you. This gives you the opportunity to empower people to become their own advocates. I have been on many doctor's visits with many of our local Dayton Zebras, but encouraging them and building them up to the point where they can go and advocate for themselves is the best. Offer a safe space for patients to be themselves. Again, sometimes this is the first time that somebody has walked in and and felt like they weren't alone. So giving them a safe space to open up is very important. And renew confidence in those that are navigating a new life. You know, you may be a year into diagnosis or 20 years into diagnosis, but there's always some navigation that has to be done because it's a constantly changing thing. So you want to be a support group leader, but do you have what it takes? This is not a job for the faint of heart, unless you have POTS, and then it's definitely a job for the faint of heart. But you must be willing to give of your time and have a very, very, very flexible schedule. You are going to be contacted all the time. All the time. You're going to be contacted at 6 in the morning, you're going to be contacted at 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, it doesn't matter. So you have to be flexible and willing to give that time to the people in your support group. Know how to create healthy boundaries. This is very, very important. You cannot take home everybody's pain and suffering. You need to be able to set boundaries, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And stay educated. You are not all physicians, some of you are, but you're not all physicians, but you're going to be treated as such to some of the people in your support group. They're going to come to you as if you're a doctor. It's very important to let them know, I'm not a doctor. But these are some articles that you can look at based on, okay, you're asking questions about mast cell. Here's some articles on mast cell. So stay educated and up to date, and keep some articles handy so that you can help others out with that, because they're kind of counting on you to do that for them. Manage your emotions. Your responses set the tone for every conversation. So if somebody's angry, your response is going to set the tone for the rest of the conversation. If somebody's sad, your tone is going to set your response is going to set the tone for that conversation as well. And just good life advice: always admit when you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You don't have to be right all the time, and you're not going to be right all the time. That's okay. Just admit that when you're wrong and move forward. What does it take to be a successful EDS support group leader? Be a mentor, not just a teacher, okay? There are several people in my team, and I don't want to hand them paperwork and, here, this is how you're going to do this, and this is how I'm not a teacher. I am a mentor, and so what I do and how I act and how I behave shows them how to act and how to behave and what to do in meetings. Create a team that you love and are ready to invest time in. These people are, this is your clan. These are the people that are going to help you through this support group. They are your support group when you can't go to your support group too. Always, always, always lead from a place of love. If the support group is ever too much, it's too stressful, you can't come to it in a place of love, that's where your team is going to come in, because you can call and say, hey, you know what, I'm just not feeling this. I'm not feeling the group today, or I'm not feeling this conversation. Can you handle this for me? And take a step back, because you never want to do anything out of anger or hatefulness or confusion. Always lead from a place of love, particularly when you're running a support group. Create group guidelines or rules, and we're going to go over some guidelines that I've put together for groups and for leaders, and always have fun. So some general support group guidelines, this would be something that you would give to group members. Some of the things on the guidelines: what is said in the meeting stays in the meeting. This is vital, okay? This is confidentiality. Whatever someone says, you keep it with you, okay? Differences of opinion is okay and absolutely allowed at all times. It's okay not to share. If you want to come in and just listen and you're not ready to share, that's okay. Don't pressure anybody or try to drag information out of them. When they're ready to share, they will share. Treat others with respect and kindness. Have one person speaking at a time. Do not monopolize the group. Everyone needs a chance to speak. Respect the emotional, spiritual, physical, and intellectual boundaries of all members. Speak without judgment. Only give advice when asked for it, and do this by sharing your own personal experiences. The group leader may interrupt you, and this is okay. The group leader has the right to interrupt you. The group leader is in charge of keeping the group moving, there's usually, for our groups, we have a 2-hour time slot. So inside of that 2 hours, we have to make sure that everything's moving properly. And so we may interrupt you just so we can move on or allow somebody else to speak. Leader guidelines are very important too, and this will come in more handy as your group grows and your leadership team grows. So some of the guidelines here would be our job as a group leader is to improve the lives of people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and other conditions. We must be willing to step in and lead when necessary. And I'll tell you, yesterday I had planned on running our support group meeting last night from 7 to 9 and then driving down here to stay in the hotel. Because I'm crazy and sometimes I think I can do everything and I can't. But what I was able to do was step back, call a co-leader, say, hey, you know what, I can't do this today. She was able to step in and take care of the group meeting last night, no issues. So always, be willing to help out the other group leaders if they need you. Don't give any medical advice. We are not physicians. Again, I'm going to say this several times. We are not all physicians. Do not give any medical advice. Share your personal stories instead. Encourage others to tell their stories. Everybody's heard my story. I'm the support group leader. Everybody knows my story. I don't need to speak at every meeting. I'd like for other people to speak. Sorry. So I encourage others to share their stories. Be able to work efficiently with all leaders. Differences of opinion should be welcome. Do not abuse your authority. Just because you're a support group leader does not mean that you are God of the support groups, okay? Step back and know your place, and you are just a patient like everybody else. You must stay as educated and as up-to-date as possible on EDS and comorbid disorders, like I stated earlier. You must be emotionally stable and able to maintain a sound mind in times of disagreement or trial. This is difficult for some. So if this is you and you tend to snap into anxiety, totally okay. Take a deep breath, step back from the situation, gather your thoughts, and come back with a clean slate. You must be able to attend 2/3 of all meetings and participate in events. You will be removed from leadership if you are unable to follow these guidelines. This sounds a little harsh, but this is for leadership's health. So if somebody is having a hard time and it is in their best interest to remove them from a leadership position, it's okay to do so. And it's important for the group as well. If there's tension, the group is going to know. So what's expected of an EDS support group leader? EDS support group leaders, any support group leader, I keep saying EDS, but any support group leader, their job is to help others, and be problem solvers. So how do we help others help others? Again, that's a demonstration thing. So that's part of the mentor gig. So we're going to demonstrate and teach active listening skills. And active listening skills, that's body language. Don't be closed off. We don't want any of this while somebody's talking. You want to have an open body language. Stay calm. Again, your reaction is very key, so try to stay as unfazed as possible. Maintain good eye contact so that they know that you're listening. Share a brief but encouraging statement, and then repeat or rephrase what the speaker just said so that they know that you were actually listening and you really did hear what they were saying. And then ask appropriate questions to support and encourage understanding. Encourage members to share their stories and experiences. We do this by offering a safe space. If we're confidentiality run, then it should be an open, safe space. Ask open-ended questions to kind of pull some answers out of people. Foster an atmosphere of confidentiality and trust, again, very important. And encourage everyone to participate in the conversations if they're willing and they're ready. Offer comfort to your members. Make statements that show that you understand. Again, this is kind of, rephrasing what somebody has said back to you. So you just want to let them know that you do understand, you did hear them. Be empathetic, sympathetic, and show concern when you need to be concerned. Listen to the feelings expressed by the member and address them. As a problem solver, you're going to clarify and make sure that you understand the situation. Discuss similar situations that you have encountered and what worked for you. So kind of share your story or have others share theirs. And be sure to involve the group and so that they can give advice and encouragement as well. Difficult situations. There are many different types of difficult situations. Hopefully you won't run into too many. I know I honestly have not run into a lot, just a couple of difficult situations. But there are many opportunities for difficult situations for sure. So if there's a situation, you want to make sure that you directly address the problem without insulting or offending the member. You don't necessarily want to call them out and tell them exactly what they're doing wrong in front of the whole group. But show that show that you understand their dilemma. Ask them, a couple of open-ended questions maybe, and then try to move on or ask them to speak to you afterwards. So you need to be assertive and caring and speak the truth in love. So this is being firm. Like I said, you want to make eye contact, speak with them, correct the behavior, and don't just correct behavior, explain your reasoning behind why you feel that behavior was inappropriate for the situation so that the member understands where you're coming from and can maybe take a step back and see how they could have handled the situation better. If this is happening in an in-person group, as a leader, you're going to kind of refocus the group, bring everybody back in, step away from that situation, bring everybody back in and refocus on whatever your theme is that day. And you may need to have a conversation with somebody after the meeting. Totally okay, just bring them aside, discuss, their behavior and possibly alternative behaviors to what happened, and remind them that everybody is there for the same reason, okay? And so they may be upset by something somebody said, they may be upset by something a doctor told them, and that's okay, but everybody's there for the same reason. Everybody's there for support and encouragement from others. So some examples of difficult situations. One would be when a member monopolizes a conversation. This is probably the one that we run into the most. Somebody decides that it's their turn to talk and then they don't stop talking. So, this is where a leader would step in, let them know, hey, you know what, I'm definitely interested in this and I'm willing to talk to you about that, but we need to let others speak, so we're going to move on. If this happens all the time, then you're going to want to maybe have coffee with them, spend more than a couple minutes afterwards discussing alternative behaviors or finding a different role for them even in the group. When a member seems to have a problem that's bigger than the group can handle, totally okay. This is going to happen. But you may need to, again, to say, hey, you know what? I get it, and I understand, and we're going to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it after group. So just come and see me when we wrap up. When a member seeks advice for something that's totally unrelated to the discussion or the group, you may just, again, remind them, hey, you know what? This is what we're here for today. I'd be happy to talk to you about this. We'll talk about it later. When a member comes in inebriated, and I have had this, when a member comes in inebriated, it's very difficult. A couple of different reasons, and this was brought up to me not long ago. Kendra mentioned, sometimes somebody comes in inebriated or looks inebriated, but they're actually having a reaction to a medication. So this is a very touchy situation. You need to tread lightly. If somebody comes in and they reek of alcohol and they're clearly drunk, then that's somebody you're going to want to pull outside of the room. Can I get you a ride? Is there somebody here with you? We can't have you interrupting group like this, something like that. If they're looking a little funny and acting a little funny, but they don't smell like alcohol, you might want to say, hey, you know what, I'm concerned by, the way you're behaving. Are you okay? Can I get you some water? Maybe they're having, a POTS flare and they're getting ready to pass out. So, just tread lightly with an inebriated person. If they're too inebriated and they're not listening, they're being, difficult, depending on where you're at, you may be able to call security. Always have somebody come with you if that's a situation. Never be alone with somebody like that. So, with all of that being said, where do you start? First thing to do when you've decided that, okay, yes, I can handle being a support group leader, this is definitely a job for me, what kind of group are you going to run? You can run a group for socialization, you can run a group for education, you can run a group that only does awareness activities. I think ultimately the goal for most groups is to do all three of those, but to focus on one of those things individually in the beginning will kind of help to help your group to grow organically and help you to feel out how leadership is going to work and what your goals are going to be as a group. Picking a co-leader and eventually your leadership team or your board of directors is very, very, very important. I would pick co-leaders that are from a diverse group so that you have differences of opinions from all different groups. Your co-leaders will help you answer emails, and there are a ton of them. They help you stay organized, and I thought I was well organized until I started running a support group and realized I wasn't as organized as I thought I was. So the co-leaders are kind of really helpful for that, and they help facilitate the meetings. And you know, if you can't facilitate a meeting, it's great to be able to call somebody and say, hey, I can't do this, like I did last night. Hey, I can't do this. I was crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. Here are the handouts, and they can take over for you. And remember, this is your tribe, okay? These people are people you are going to spend time with weekly, hopefully. Even if your meetings are once a month, you need to be in contact with these people all the time and keep your relationship fresh and moving forward. So choose wisely. After you've decided what type of group you want to serve and who your co-leaders are going to be, who are you going to serve? Do you want to serve kids? Do you want to serve teens, parents, partners, friends, family members, providers? And I think, again, in the end, the goal would be to reach all of these people. But in the beginning, you know, pick one or two groups. Who am I going to serve? And then what do you want to accomplish? Education, emotional support. Again, you know, do you want to do awareness activities, networking with providers, socializing? When your group gets to be very large, the Dayton group has about 500 people. So we have some smaller groups that kind of break out, you know, and we'll have mall walkers and people that go out for coffee and things like that, because there's a lot of us. What type of group do you want to host? So I'm going to be discussing in-person groups. So how often do you want to have a group? Where do you want to have a group? There will be a discussion later on more of the online social media type groups and using Facebook and support groups and things like, or websites, things like that. So an in-person meeting, you need to find out what type of meeting spaces that you're going to meet in. Please do not pay for a meeting space. Okay, there are plenty of public places that will offer you a room at no cost. There are public buildings, malls, gyms, churches, even hospitals and healthcare facilities have rooms available just for support groups. So, you know, call around, make some contacts, check out the rooms, see what type of chairs and tables they have, and make sure that it's a good meeting space for you. Also make sure that you check the parking. Is it handicap accessible, and is it close to the facility? You can have a meeting at the hospital, but if the parking garage is 1.5 miles away from the room, nobody's coming to your meeting because nobody's going to be able to walk that far. So make sure that the parking is accessible. The location should be easy to find, and again, you know, look at the seating and the table and make sure that it's comfortable. The facilitators, so the people that are running the meeting, whether it's you or one of your co-leaders, what the facilitator of the in-person meeting is going to do is they're going to open and close the meeting, okay? They're going to set the tone for the discussion. They will be the ones that are dealing with any problems that may arise, if there are some, and they keep the meeting kind of calm and moving in a good flow. They often lead the discussions or schedule the professional that's going to be speaking or other speakers. And they kind of keep the time going. You know, like I said, we've got a 2-hour time slot, so the facilitator is making sure that we're going to be out of there in that 2-hour time slot and manage the crowd successfully. For your meeting, you want to create a theme, and we'll go over some themes here in a minute. You also want to create and review an agenda prior to the meeting. Have any announcements that you're going to have them ready and available for any of the activities that are coming up. Try to arrive 20 to 30 minutes early. I'm really, really bad at this. Really bad. but try 20 to 30 minutes early, if the facility allows you. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they open the door 5 minutes before you're allowed in. That just is what it is. Try to be as prepared as possible and ready to greet guests as they come in, or say hello to them as you come in behind them. Greet everyone with a smile, a friendly hello. Introduce yourself if they don't know you. Have handouts ready if you're using any. Call the meeting to order. So some popular themes that we've used over in the past, dysautonomia, physical therapy. We've discussed the EDS nosology. We've had people come in and do food prep for us, actually do a cooking demonstration. We've talked about nutrition, essential oils. Kathy will be speaking at our meeting in July on IEPs and 504s. We have somebody coming in August to speak about marijuana and CBD. Last night was life hacks, show and tell, open discussions, pain management. There's so many different themes that you can go with. And we always throw in a couple of just open discussions so people can come in and bring their questions, and we just kind of go with it, bring some food and drinks in, and have a good time. To the, let's see, would be the left here. That is our schedule for the year, for 2019 for the Dayton Zebra. So any of my Dayton Zebras here, here's your schedule. This is what we're talking about this year. So last night, like I said, we did life hacks. Next month's IEPs, then medical marijuana. September's an open discussion. October we'll do dysautonomia. November, we don't actually have a discussion yet. We'll figure that out. And then, of course, December's our annual holiday party. So an agenda, I talked about having an agenda ready for each meeting. So this is just an example of an agenda. So we start at 7 p.m. So 7 to 7:15, we chit-chat because we all have EDS and everybody's late, including myself sometimes. I'm usually there by 7. But have some time for chit-chat and allow people to kind of mosey in at their own time. At 7:15 is when I do the introductions. Then we talk about upcoming events, changes, any webinars that are coming up, webinars that have been done recently. And then we start with a simple icebreaker, or try to start with a simple icebreaker. Something like, give your name and your favorite dessert. Easy peasy, opens up discussion, everybody laughs, everybody smiles. Then you're going to introduce the presentation, whether it's you or somebody else. After the presentation, have some questions ready for the presenter in case, just kind of get the crowd going in case nobody wants to raise their hand first to ask the first question. So have some things ready to ask. And then do your wrap up, thank everybody for coming, mention upcoming events again, including the next meeting, and then dismiss. So during the meeting, so that was the agenda. So during the actual meeting, you're going to call the meeting to order. Introduce yourself briefly. If you're leading this discussion, then be sure to give a quick, I'm not a doctor, again, like I said, give your liability statement. I am not a doctor if you're not a doctor. And this message is not to be used for diagnostic purposes. I am familiar with this subject because blah, blah, blah. So Kathy is familiar with IEPs and 504s because she's a special needs teacher. So that would be something that she could introduce herself with when she gives her discussion. If you are not the speaker, then introduce the speaker. When the speaker is done, ask the group for questions or comments. And like I said earlier, have some questions ready just in case. Have discussion points or questions ready. Wrap things up. Repeat upcoming events again. And invite everybody to the next meeting. So your group will grow organically on its own, just because people are going to hear about it. Like Dr. Bluestein said, we are not 6 degrees away from anybody. Everybody knows somebody with EDS. So your group will grow on its own just because everybody knows somebody with EDS. As you meet with your doctors even, they'll, and you tell them about your support groups, then they'll have that in the back of their mind, like, oh, okay, I've got a support group for my next person. So there's constantly growth in the groups. You don't really have to work that hard. But if you want to, oh, wait a minute. we skipped something. Here we go. Okay. Network with some of the providers in your area. A lot of the doctors in Dayton know the Dayton Zebras because we speak to them all the time. We are constantly bringing in brochures. We're bringing in information on webinars that are coming up. We're bringing information on CMEs. We bring in the calendar that I showed you. Most of the doctors in the area, at least with like Kettering Physician Networks, they have our schedule of discussions for the year. So they're ready and willing to send people to the group. So there's always room for networking. Make your presentations for the patients, providers, and caregivers. So think very hard about what it is that you want to talk about. That would be part of the agenda, part of your scheduling, you know, what are some of the things that you're going to discuss. Also, volunteer with some of the support groups in your area that aren't EDS related. So there are support groups for dysautonomia, there are support groups for Chiari, there are support groups for mast cell activation, and all of these groups, we kind of work together. We need to work together. And so the Dayton Zebras will volunteer and work for things like these pictures right here from the Conquer Chiari Walk Across America. We've been volunteering there for 4 years, I want to say, and EDS Awareness puts out a booth, Dayton Zebras puts out a booth, we do all of the kids' activities during those things, and we meet with other groups as well. But this is a great way to not only advocate for EDS, but to grow your group. Like I said, I take some things to local physicians' offices, physical therapy departments, things like that. So create attractive flyers. You want something that's going to hang on a corkboard that somebody's going to walk towards. Like, oh, that's cool, what does that say? So you want to make something that attracts people to it so that they can see what's going on. And you know, they may go, oh, hey, look, there's an EDS group. Or, oh, I love 5Ks, I'm going to go run in this and see what it's all about. You never know who's going to come, who's going to see these flyers, so make them attractive. And if you need help, there are some great programs out there that I can put links onto on the Lead EDS site when it comes up to help you make some of these more attractive flyers, packets, things like that. And of course, there's social media and print media that you can just advertise on. You know, we have a Facebook site, and EDS Awareness has Twitter and Instagram, and you know, there are all kinds of different ways to just advertise or put yourself out there. Even your events or your calendar of events can go out on Facebook or Meetup or Instagram. There are things that you can send out to newspapers when we do our 5K. You know, the newspapers know, news media knows, things like that. If you want to, you can pay for ads, and Facebook is making it more and more difficult to not pay for ads if you want to see anything, but you can do some fundraising and if you want to kind of help pay for some of those things. Letters to the editors, PSAs, things like that. All right, so you've decided you're ready to be a support group leader. You've decided what type of group you want to run, and you are ready to just kind of get up and get going. So here are some things. Let's see, where am I at? Oh, okay. So it takes a lot of time and energy to be a support group leader. Like I said, you're going to get emails and messages all night and all day, and that's okay. But you need to be ready and willing to take care of those things. Without help, it can be all-consuming. This is why I'm pushing for you to have co-leaders and a team of people, not only to just hand something off to if you're stressed out or having anxiety, but somebody to, you know, take over the emails for you if you can't do that, or to take over Instagram for you, just to remove that stress from you. You cannot do all of this by yourself. Delegate as much as you can. This is very hard to do when you're running a support group because it kind of becomes your baby. And it's the most important thing in the world to you sometimes. And you want to make sure that things are done correctly and that people are getting good information. And this makes it really hard to delegate. This is why your team and the people that you choose are so very important. They need to be people that you trust and people that you can delegate to and say, hey, you know what? This fits you. I need you to run with this program, or I need you to run with this program. This is going, again, it's going to decrease your stress, and it gives encouragement to those other people as well. If you're doing everything on your own, you may be taking somebody's blessing from them, okay? Because as much as this group blesses me, it's going to bless somebody else too. And we need to give them the opportunity to feel that and feel that control, not control over the group, but control over themselves and control over their own disorders. Because if they're helping somebody else, you really are helping yourself as well. Choose who you're going to serve with, where you're going to serve, when you're going to serve. Have an agenda and a speaker ready for every meeting. Don't go into these meetings blind. It's going to make for a very difficult, very boring, not very talkative meeting. If you have an agenda, if you have a theme, if anything, it at least gives you a stepping point, a talking point, somewhere to start the meeting. And once it gets going, it'll just go. It's mostly women, and we have no problem talking once we get talking, so it's okay. But have some things ready and make sure that that this is something that's going to keep going. This also goes back to staying educated and staying organized. I can't go into October and speak about dysautonomia if I haven't looked at the most recent dysautonomia information from Vanderbilt or Dysautonomia International or wherever. I need to be educated on that subject to the best of my abilities before I go in and speak on it. Again, I will say, I am not a doctor. I am not a dysautonomia expert. This is where I got my information, and then discuss. Be realistic with your goals. If you're the only one that shows up, you have still succeeded, okay? You still got online, you still, had your agenda ready and your meeting ready, and if nobody shows up, that sucks, but you'll be all right, At least you're there, you showed up, and you did your thing. In Ohio, at least, I know that our numbers kind of dive between December and February because of the weather. That's okay. That's okay. Sometimes we'll have 45 people, sometimes we'll have 3. All is okay, all right? I'm usually not prepared for 45 when they do show up, but I'm always prepared for 3. So just, and remember that it's not you. You may have 25 people that click, yes, I'm coming to your meeting tonight online, and only 5 show up. That's okay. We have chronic illnesses, and things are going to come up. You're going to have a POTS flare. You're going to step funny and dislocate your ankle. Things are going to happen. Migraines pop up out of nowhere. Even just anxiety of going can stop somebody from coming into a meeting. That's okay. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at the numbers of people that are in the meeting. The number of people there isn't nearly as important as the amount of people you're truly reaching and helping to take care of. Growth happens whether you want it or not. So like I said, if your doctor finds out that you're running a support group, people are going to find out about your support group. You don't have to do all of the advertising that I was speaking about for the group to grow. All you have to do is tell one person, because that person knows somebody with EDS, and that person knows somebody with EDS. So even if you want a small group, if you're in a big city, you're not going to have a small group. You're going to have a very large group. And this is where the smaller subgroups are very important. So you're going to, when you start, you may have one big group and all the teens and all the kids and all the adults and everybody comes to one group. And then once you hit a certain size, you're going to want to split up because you've got 20 teens that want to meet. So you'll have a teens group, or you have 20 children with parents that want to meet, and you'll have a children's group. So things will start to split off on their own very naturally. Don't be afraid to go out there and make new friends, okay? Speak to your doctors. Let them know what's going on. Let them know that you have a support group. If you have flyers, give them flyers. Great leaders are compassionate and patient. Use your active listening skills like we talked about in the beginning, and control your emotions. When you have anxiety, it's kind of hard to control your emotions sometimes, and that's understandable. I have that problem myself. But again, have the ability to step back from a situation, take a deep breath, Really think about what you're going to say. Even if there's a moment of silence, that's okay. It's better to be silent and think about what you're going to say than speak and throw out some word vomit that doesn't need to be shared. And keep going and going and going. This is a long haul, okay? You're not going to start a support group and walk away in a year. You're going to be in this for a long time if you're going to do this well. So remember to rest, okay? Restoration equals healing. Like Dr. Bluestein mentioned earlier, sleep is very, very important. And so she will talk to somebody about their sleep hygiene and what's going on. We heal during our sleep, okay? And it's not an easy task for a lot of us. So any rest that we can get is probably good rest. And take care of yourself first. You cannot help anyone if you are down, okay? If you're run down, if you're burnt out, you're not going to do anybody any good, okay? So take care of yourself first. That's okay, okay? I'm giving you permission right now to take care of yourself first. Also read or listen to books on tape. If you can't read or don't like to, listen to some books on different leadership skills. There are some great books, and I can put links on the Lead EDS site to these books that talk about healthy boundaries. I feel like this is very, very important when you're running a support group, especially as it grows and gets larger. It's very important to have healthy boundaries. And there are also books out there that you can listen to about speaking the truth in love. So again, choose a co-leader. It's very important that these are people that you love, these are people that you trust, these are people that are going to be able to step in when you can't. And if they can't, have another co-leader available. You know, it doesn't have to be 2 of you, it can be 5 of you, 6 of you, 10 of you. But have some people that you trust, that you know can take over the meeting for you if need be. Choose what type of group you're going to run. Is this a social group? Is this an activist group? Where are we going to play? What are we going to do? Have group and leader guidelines. They don't have to be the guidelines that I gave, but general guidelines are very important to kind of keep the group on pace and to keep your leaders on the same goal and in the same level. Stay up to date on your facts. This is the education piece. You know, you can go to Google Scholars and receive every scholarly article that comes out that mentions Ehlers-Danlos. You can go to Google Scholar and put in mast cell. Every article that comes out with mast cells even mentioned will come into your email account. This is every article. So a lot of the articles that you get are going to say, not related to Ehlers-Danlos, but you're going to get the article because it says Ehlers-Danlos. Just flip through them until you find the right ones. But this will help you to stay up to date, and then you can go from there to get the articles. If you can't get the full articles, then you know you can at least get some abstracts or discuss with a physician that can get the full articles so that you can see what's going on that way. Create an atmosphere of fun and safety at your meetings. It's good to laugh, okay? Laughter is medicine. So fun is great. There are some tears during support groups. I could have a comedian come in and speak, and somebody would probably still cry at some point during the support group meeting. That's okay. You know, support group meetings are for everybody from newly diagnosed or just seeking diagnosis to people that have been diagnosed for 20 years. And everybody in that group, no matter where you are in that, is going to have a moment of breakdown. That's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to encourage each other and give each other comfort. I don't like to focus on things that are going to make us sad. I don't like to focus on things that are going to bring hurt and pain out of somebody. I like to focus on, you know, upbeat, fun things. You know, we try to laugh at each other. We try to laugh at the speaker. You know, and stay close to theme, and that's part of the themes as well. So if you don't have a theme, that's when you get a support group where everybody cries and they leave worse than when they came in. So themes are pretty important. Make sure that it's a relevant theme. You know, May is EDS Awareness Month, so we did EDS Life Hacks. Dysautonomia Month is in October, so we'll, So our themes are relevant to what's going on. Have your agenda ready and try to stay organized. If you can't do that on your own, that's okay. That's what your co-leaders are for. They can help you stay organized and keep the meeting running. Build relationships with local physicians and practitioners. This has been key to our growth in Dayton, and not only our growth, but physicians' knowledge. What I've noticed over the last few years is that as our group grows, the physician base of knowledge grows as well, because they're not just learning from what they learned in school, they're learning from their patients. And so the better educated that we are able to make our group leaders, the better educated these physicians are going to be. So build relationships there. We have local physicians that come to our meetings and hang out. We have local physicians that will call and ask us questions. Hey, I saw this online about EDS. What do you think? I saw this on MassCell. What do you think? What are your opinions? Where does the group stand? Doctors can do surveys inside of your groups and see where they stand, so that they know where they need to look for their education, so that they can care for us more properly. And again, take care of yourself, okay? This picture here, this is me getting a massage from my blue-haired massage therapist. She's great. She's actually my business partner. She's phenomenal. This is Jo. But it's very important to take care of yourself, If you need a massage, go get a massage. You deserve it. This is not an easy job. It is stressful. And so taking care of yourself is very, very important. So in closing, what I want to leave you with, and I know I'm early, I must have spoken too quickly, but to leave you in closing, I would like to say, if all you do is justify someone's fear and despair, then that's what you're going to leave them with, fear and despair. If you speak courage and understanding into someone's life, you will leave them encouraged and capable. So think about this when you're running your meetings. If all you're discussing is someone's fear, if all you're discussing is someone's despair and how bad it is, when they leave the meeting, that's what they're leaving with. They're leaving with the same fear and the same despair, maybe worse than when they came in. But if you can take a step back and show them that you do understand and encourage them where they're at, then when they leave, they're going to feel more capable. They're going to feel like, hey, these people get me and they're moving forward. I can move forward too. And so when they leave the meeting, they will leave more capable and more encouraged. That's all I've got. Thank you, guys.